Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Sustainability Fellowships Information Session. My name is Shay Masterson. I'm the Program Manager of Outreach and Inclusion with the Office of National Scholarships Advisement. That means a few different things, but one of those things is I do advise on a number of sustainability, environmental, or conservation-focused awards that ASU students and alumni can apply for, and that's what I'm here to share with you all about this afternoon. On the screen, you'll see a brief agenda for what we'll be covering today. We're going to start with some introductions. I want to get a sense of who's in the room with us. So we'll do that via the chat in just a moment. Then I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the Office of National Scholarships Advisement, or ONSA. In case you're not familiar with our office already, if you haven't attended an information session or workshop or event that we've hosted before, just want to give you that brief overview to start. And then we have really three awards that we're mostly going to focus on today. The Udall Undergraduate Scholarship, the NOAA Halling Scholarship, the Yale Conservation Scholars Early Leadership Initiative. That'll be the bulk of the focus. And then I'm also going to share a few other undergraduate awards that maybe aren't explicitly environmental or conservation focused, but they do fit within that realm and could be interesting for you too. And then we'll also share just very briefly on some postgraduate awards that may align with some environmental focused future goals as well. We'll wrap up the session with some suggested next steps and kind of resources available to you as you further explore and consider applying for any number of these awards. So it just gives you a basic idea of what we'll be covering in today's session. As it says on the agenda, we're going to start with some introductions. So in just a moment, I'd like everybody to just type into the chat what your academic level is. So first, second, third, fourth year, fourth plus, whatever the case may be. I think we're all undergraduates, but if you're a grad student, indicate that. And then if there's one particular environmental kind of topic or issue that you already are or would like to focus on in the future in your academic and professional pursuits, if you can just kind of give a brief, few word description of what that environmental issue or topic is that's most close to your heart and you want to focus on. So again, just your academic level and one top environmental issue or topic that you are or want to focus on. I'll give everybody a moment to put that into the chat. All right, third year, sustainable batteries and sourcing of battery materials. Second year, sustainable urban planning, wonderful. Give it just another moment before we move on. Third year, clean energy, specifically clean nuclear energy. Third year, unsure of a specific issue, but general focus on conservation and sustainability. Third year, justice issues and food systems. Great. Fourth year, conservation biology and ecology. Generally marine biology as well. First year, renewable energy systems, virtual power plants. Second year, GIS and natural resource wildlife management and conservation. Wonderful. I think that's nearly everyone, if not everybody. So it sounds like, there may be something in here that we're going to talk about for everybody that's in the session today. That's the idea. So hopefully we fit the bill. And we'll just kind of jump into it now. Thank you all for sharing that. That gives me a good sense of where we're starting. All right, so just to, again, give that brief overview of the Office of National Scholarship. So We are a department here at ASU that provides support to ASU students and alumni in pursuing national and international awards. So when we say national scholarships, all of the things we advise on are on a national and international scale. They're external from the university system. Most of them are funded by like federal agencies or international organizations or private foundations who have some kind of larger mission or vision that they're trying to propel forward and pursue and accomplish in the world. Everything we're going to talk about today has some lens or some focus on environmental issues in general or something more specific than that. And so the scholarship opportunities are a way for students and recent students to help propel forward whatever that mission or vision is that the funding agency has. So they're looking for applicants who have a kind of shared mission and vision. So these are all environmental focused. So they're looking for students and applicants who are environmental focused in what they want to achieve and focus on in their future. So we're all in the right foot there. That also means that the applicant pool comes from across the country and sometimes across the world, which also means the awards we advise on are highly competitive, right? So there's a lot of people vying for those positions, and our office is here to help the ASU population kind of determine which awards might be best suited for you vis-a-vis the shared mission and vision with the funding agency or foundation or corporation of that specific scholarship or fellowship. And then we give a lot of support around application processes. So that's actually how we spend the bulk of our time in our office, is doing advising either individually or in small groups for students that are applying for specific awards. So we advise on about 100 or so of these national or international awards. And so depending on the specific award, we're going to meet with students at different times of the year to provide that general guidance on the application, and then also giving some specific feedback on your application materials. So we're not just here to tell you about all of these great opportunities that you would fit in line with whatever your goals and interests are, but we're also here to actually give you support through the application process, answering your questions, giving you suggestions and tips, and really reading through the materials that you're putting forward for the application to give you feedback and help you improve upon those materials and put forth the strongest application possible, because again, they are highly competitive opportunities. If you're applying for a national scholarship that has an interview component to it, we will also help you prepare for the interview. That typically comes a little bit later, so it's not necessarily part of the application process, but the selection process. They might select semifinalists or finalists, and they may interview you or do like a video recording or other supplemental steps to the application process. So we also support with that if that arises. There's a number of awards that do require what's called campus nomination or endorsement. This means that the university is saying this applicant and this application is a strong representation of the university, a positive representation of the university, and we believe they have a compelling argument for earning this specific award. That doesn't mean that you have to find somebody in the university system to nominate you for the award. There are some things out there like that, not stuff that we focus on though. That nomination or endorsement means that you decide to apply and you put forth your application materials by a preliminary deadline. Our office manages that process. We do not decide whether you get nominated or endorsed by the university for any of these awards. We just manage the process. So we collect those applications. We share them with a campus committee, which is made up of staff and faculty from across the university. Those committee members review and decide who receives that nomination or endorsement. And then we communicate that along with any feedback back to the applicants. So if you come across an award that does require nomination or endorsement, we're the ones managing that process. Any of the awards that you see in this session that have an asterisk next to the title of the award and the slide, that means that is an award that requires that nomination or endorsement. In some of those instances, we are limited to a certain number of applicants that we can nominate or endorse in a given cycle, and in some of those instances, we are not. So it really just depends. But generally, we're the ones that manage that process. And then we're really just here to be your supporter, your cheerleader, to guide you along the way, to commiserate with you through the challenges of working on these kinds of applications, to hear good news and bad news when it comes, just to really just be your support system through the pursuit of any number of these awards. And if you end up applying for multiple of them, then we'll be there through all of them, which many students do, especially if they're starting out in their early undergrad applying for things like this. So in a nutshell, that's what our office does. We are located on the Tempe campus in Honors Hall of the Tempe campus, but we serve all of ASU. We serve students on all of the campuses, including online, and to access our support, so advising appointments, workshops, events like this one, you will always have the option of virtual and in some cases the option of in-person, but everything is always offered virtually for sure so that all students on all campuses and online can access all of the same support that we provide. All right. So first up is the Udall Undergraduate Scholarship. This is the premier environmental scholarship in the country for undergraduate students. So it was established in the 90s in honor of the Udall brothers, who were two Arizonans who were legal and political leaders who had a strong focus on issues relevant to the environment and issues relevant to Native American communities, their rights and their lands as well. And so the Udall Undergraduate Scholarship actually has kind of two, what they call tracks under it. One track is for environmental focused students, and the other track is for Native American students who are working towards issues relevant to Native Americans. Today, we're going to talk about the environmental track specifically. In some cases, students can apply to either or, but most it's just one or the other. So for the environmental track, it's open to second and third year undergraduate students, and they want to focus on a future addressing environmental issues. Not only do the applicants want to focus on a future focused on environmental issues, but they also are looking for individuals who already have a demonstrated commitment to environmental issues. So this scholarship isn't looking for people who are just saying they want to do stuff for the environment, but that relevant to the level you are at in your academic and professional journey so far, you already have some experiences relevant to that, whether that be volunteering, doing research, doing internships, having jobs, being involved in clubs and organizations, either part of the university system or part outside of the university system. So having some kind of activities beyond just your major academic study that is showing that you have that commitment to addressing environmental issues in your life now and in the future. So it doesn't really matter to them what area of environmental issues you're focused on. So really any number of the things that you all identified in the chat when we started with introductions, those are all environmental issues doing something to improve some aspect of environmental issues. And so those would all apply in terms of issues that applicants would want to be pursuing. If you're selected for the Udall Undergraduate Scholarship, you do receive up to $7,000 for eligible academic expenses for the following academic year. So that, of course, can be applied towards tuition and fees. Sometimes it can be applied to other eligible academic expenses, like attending conferences, maybe even study abroad, but that all depends on you working that out with the foundation if and once you receive the actual scholarship. Many recipients won't receive the full amount because they don't have a need for the full amount, and that's okay, but that is what the financial benefit of the Udall scholarship is. Everything our office advises on, regardless of the financial benefit that it provides, also provides more than the financial benefit or an experiential component in some form or fashion. Sometimes that's professional or leadership development. Sometimes that's mentorship. Sometimes that is a study abroad experience or a learning experience or an internship experience. In the case of the Udall Scholarship, scholars all participate in what they call the Udall Scholar Orientation, which is essentially like a leadership and professional development conference that you get to attend. Happens in the first week in August in Tucson, Arizona. Again, even though this is a national scholarship, it is based out of Arizona because that is where the Udall brothers were from. And so that's where the foundation is. But it is a national award, and so they bring scholars from across the country. If you happen to be a local ASU student, you won't have to go too far for that orientation, but expenses are covered to travel to that orientation and participate in it. In addition, you gain access to the Udall Alumni Network, which is a robust, decades-long network of folks who have previously won the award. Some are, 10, 20, 30 years into their careers dealing with environmental issues, public sector, private sector, domestically, internationally, all of the above. And so being a part of that alumni network becomes a really beneficial resource and support system for Udall scholars as they go forward in pursuing internships, maybe pursuing grad school, getting started in their careers after their academic studies are done. So the alumni network, while it doesn't formally, the scholarship doesn't formally guarantee any internship or job experiences, being a part of that alumni network often leads to those kinds of opportunities for Udall scholars and alumni. So those are the basic benefits of the Udall scholarship. This is one that we are required for nomination or endorsement. So you can't apply for the award nationally unless you're nominated by the university. So what that means is you have to put forth your complete application for the Udall scholarship by the campus deadline, which for this year is going to be February 18th. So everything that's required as part of the application, including letters of recommendation, will have to be submitted by that deadline. Then a campus committee will convene the following week, and they will choose up to 4 environmental nominees from the university to be considered for the scholarship. After that decision is made, applicants will have about a week to receive feedback and make final adjustments to the application before submitting for the national deadline, which is the first week in March. I didn't say this at the beginning. Feel free to ask questions as you have them, whether that be in the chat or raising your hand if you want to ask by unmuting yourself, but I will stop periodically for questions as well. So any questions so far? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. So after today's session, if you are in that second or third year undergraduate student level and you're thinking, maybe I want to apply for Udall this year, what I would recommend is going to the Udall website, which if you just search Udall Scholarship, I don't have the link pulled up right now. I should have that. I apologize. But if you just search for Udall Scholarship, it'll be the first link that shows up in the results. Confirm your eligibility, and then you can get started by scheduling a Udall advising appointment with our office. For this award, you do have to meet with us in order to gain access to the application portal. Not all awards are like that. Many you can just start an application on your own, but for this one, you do have to meet with us for that access. So after this week, you'll be able to schedule those appointments with our office, and everybody will be receiving an email with the recording of this session, and it'll include the link to schedule an appointment if you're interested. So another award is the NOAA Hollings Undergraduate Scholarship. This one is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I always forget that last A. But this is funded by that administration at a federal level for students. Oh, thank you, Karina. They just put the link in the chat for everybody who was interested in Udall. So the NOAA Hollings Undergraduate Scholarship is for students who their interest in environmental issues really revolves around oceanic and atmospheric type topics and careers, right? So if you're thinking so I know someone mentioned marine biology, right? Something that's more revolving around the ocean, the weather patterns, those kinds of things, then the NOAA Hollings Undergraduate Scholarship may be a good fit for you. That can be whether you're planning to pursue a career in research or education or policy or any of the above, as long as it's, your focus right now seems to be in those oceanic and or atmospheric type environmental issues. Excuse me. So this award is specifically open to second-year undergraduate students only, or third-year undergraduate students who are in a 5-year bachelor's degree program, not a 4+1 program, but you're going to take 5 years to complete your bachelor's degree because they want you to have 2 full years of remaining undergraduate study after the year that you apply. I also noticed we have a first-year student in here, so this would be something you would look at applying for next year if that was applicable. If you receive the scholarship, you will have up to $19,000 or $9,500 per year for the remaining 2 years of your undergraduate studies. So the whole award is $19,000, but it's split between junior and senior year, or your final 2 years. And then you also participate in a summer internship at an NOAA facility, and that's paid for you to participate in that. And you get to do like a conference poster presentation kind of at the end of the summer experience as well. It also comes with some mentorship and professional development along the way. That application is open now is opening next week. It's not open quite yet. It's opening next week. And the deadline is January 31st. This one does not have a nomination or endorsement requirement. You can apply directly to the program without going through ASU, although you should still get support from us on your application materials. You just don't have to apply for that nomination or endorsement to be considered. The only deadline you need to be concerned about is that final overall deadline of January 31st. Any questions about this one?
You said focus in like marine biology, atmospheric, that sort of thing. Anything in the engineering fields by chance? That was why I kind of signed up for the session, was looking through NOAA, seeing that they were looking for STEM. Would that
Yeah.
apply to this scholarship?
So for NOAA, it's not necessarily, and all of these awards aren't necessarily specifically tied to your major. It's more so what your interests are. So within your engineering interests for what you want to focus on within engineering is if it's solutions that are relevant to oceanic and atmospheric issues, then yes. If not, then probably not. Like I know somebody mentioned, I don't know if that's you who just asked the question, but somebody mentioned like sustainable battery generation, right? That probably wouldn't apply for NOAA, but it would apply for Udall.
Okay, perfect. Just asking, because
Yep.
I'm in a position where after graduation, I'll actually be a naval officer.
Oh,
So I'll be working with the ocean and nuclear energy. So I'm looking for a scholarship that aligns with that.
gotcha. Okay. Well, then it sounds like if that's where you're going with it, probably the NOAA would be fitting. I would encourage you, just like with the UDAL, to look at the complete eligibility and just make sure it kind of fits within all of the marks. Because some, especially ones with federal funding, sometimes will have restrictions on your employment status with federal agencies, or like your immediate family members' employment status with federal agencies. So you always just want to make sure all of the eligibility requirements. And that's something that we can talk through in a more individualized appointment as well, as if you're unclear on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, for NOAA, we do not have specific advising appointment types that are listed on our website, but you can schedule an advising appointment if you are wanting to get started with that application once it opens next week by the same link that I'll share with you via email. You're going to schedule an other appointment instead of like a UDAL appointment or whatnot. And then you just want to make sure to select my name from the list of advisors to get to meet with me, since I am the advisor for this specific award. We advise on 100 or so awards, so we don't list them all out as individual appointment types. That would be a little bit cumbersome for you all to go through that whole list for scheduling your appointments. And so those ones that we don't have as many students applying for each year, that's how you kind of schedule with us. All right. So next up, the last of the main three we're going to talk about today, although there's some others that we're going to touch on as well, is the Yale Conservation Scholars Early Leadership Initiative. This is a summer internships program specifically for current and recent undergraduate students who are interested in getting more hands-on experience relevant to conservation issues. That can be in the public sector or in the private sector. But this summer internship takes place in kind of like the New England region of the United States. The fellowship is based out of, managed out of Yale, but they place interns in the surrounding states around where Yale is located as well. So this is for folks who, I know somebody was like, I want to do something conservation biology focused, but I'm not exactly sure what. Great option for somebody kind of like in that realm. Or if you already have a more definitive focus in terms of conservation issues you want to address, that's okay too. Either or would work. So how it works is you apply for the program, and then if you're selected, they will help place you in one of their internships for the upcoming summer. You would relocate to that location for the summer, and they would pay you a stipend to cover your expenses to live in that place and do that internship for the summer. And then they also bring the interns together throughout the summer for different professional development, networking, and social engagement opportunities as well. Again, it's open to any level of undergraduate student, including a graduating senior. It is a one-year program, but once you have participated in the internship, you do have the option to apply to come back for a second summer as well. If any of you have ever heard of the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program, the Yale Conservation Scholars Early Leadership Initiative used to be a part of the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program, and then they got separate funding and started managing it kind of separately. So it is a little different than that program. Namely, it's only one summer, not a two-summer program, and they do internship only. The Doris Duke program did do a summer field research part of the program as well. But it's more or less modeled after that program. And great news is they did find alternate funding a few years back, because the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program is no longer functioning. So if that's something that you've previously heard of, know some ASU students who have participated in it and were like, oh, I was wanting to apply to that. Unfortunately, they're no longer offering that program, but the Yale Conservation Scholars Scholars Early Leadership Initiative would be a great alternative if you were thinking about something like that program. That application is open now and due January 7th. Again, apply directly to it. You don't have to do nomination or endorsement. There's no preliminary deadlines. You just apply for the program. But again, you can get all of our same support and meet with us for support with the application before submitting for that January 7th deadline. And same thing with NOAA. You would schedule that appointment with our office by selecting an other appointment type and picking me, Shay Masterson, as your advisor that you would want to meet with for that program. Any questions about this one? All right. So those are the main three awards, again, that we're going to give the most information about in today's session. But there are a few other awards that aren't specifically environmental or conservation focused, but can be applicable to those interested in those fields as well. These all have applications open now or opening soon as well. So first up is Goldwater. Goldwater is the premier undergraduate scholarship for STEM students who are planning to pursue STEM PhD programs and STEM research careers in the future. So if your interest within environmental conservation, sustainability issues, regardless of the specific field it's in, is a STEM focus, and you're doing some research now and you want to continue doing research in the future and pursue a PhD as part of that plan, you don't have to have it all figured out, but generally that's kind of the track you're on right now, then you could apply for the Goldwater Scholarship as a second or third year undergraduate student. This is another one where you do have to apply for nomination or endorsement, and we are limited for this one in terms of the number of students who can be nominated or endorsed from the university. It's up to 4, but they do allow 2 additional slots for transfer students or veteran students. So if you are a community college transfer student or a veteran student applying for Goldwater, that can increase your chances of getting one of those nomination slots because that increases the number of nominations the university can set forth. That campus deadline is November 25th. So if you are wanting to apply this year, you would have to get started with that process like tomorrow to submit that application for the campus deadline. But if that kind of describes kind of the path you're on with that STEM research focus within environmental fields, and that could be applicable. Another one to get some research experience is the Dodd-Rise program. This is through the German Academic Exchange Service. So it's summer internships, summer research internships that happen across Germany over the summer. It's also open to second and third year undergraduate students in STEM fields who want to do STEM research. You don't have to want to do it forever or planning to pursue a PhD or anything like that, like Goldwater, but you're interested in getting some research experience under your belt. You can see if there are any like more environmental focused projects that they're proposing for the upcoming summer, and that's how it would kind of tie in environmental issues. So this is also something that could be applicable to somebody in engineering. Of course, it's actually become a very popular option with our engineering students here at ASU and Fulton students in general. That application is also open now, due at the end of this month. So not quite as an extensive application as Goldwater, but still you would want to get started on it pretty soon if you were wanting to apply this year to Dodd-Rise. The next one is the Fulbright UK Summer Institute, or as we call it, FUCSI. Fun little acronym there. This one is not STEM focused. It's not environmental focused. It's just study abroad focused. It's for first and second year undergraduate students. So my one first year student I saw in the chat earlier, this is something you could apply for this year. Most of the other stuff you have to wait, but you could apply for this one this year. It's for first and second year undergraduate students to spend about a month in the UK doing a study abroad program, fully funded study abroad program. They have about 6 different institutes to pick from, and one of them is going to focus on sustainability issues. You don't have to apply for that one specifically if you didn't want to, but since we're talking about sustainability fellowships this afternoon, I wanted to highlight that specifically. That application is going to be opening next week. We are going to be having some information sessions specifically about the Fulbright UK Summer Institute coming up next week or the following week. I forget exactly the date. And then the deadline will be in early February if you were wanting to apply for that. Last but not least is the Research Experiences for Undergrads, or REUs, another research experience oriented award. Also for STEM and social sciences students, which a lot of the environmental sciences and sustainability and whatnot would fall under that category. So with REUs, there are hundreds of labs across the United States who are receiving NSF funding to do their research, to work on their project. And part of that funding is to pay undergraduate assistants. Even though they happen in large part at universities, you don't have to be a student at that specific university. These are national opportunities. So ASU students can apply to REUs that are happening at ASU, but they can also apply to ones that are happening at other universities. Most of those, they all have there's hundreds of them, and they all have their own application process and timeline, but most of them will be opening in the next few weeks. And then most of them will have deadlines around January, February. Sometime this month would be the time to kind of look at what the labs are for the upcoming summer and see if there's any that fit within your areas of interest. And you can apply for as many of those as you would like. I'm seeing a question about the REUs. I will pull up a link in just a moment. So you can kind of filter through those and see which ones might be of interest. You can expect that pretty much all of them are open to second and third year undergraduate students, though there are ones that are open to first year students and ones open to fourth year students who are graduating this year as well. It just depends on the individual site. So those second and third year students, you can be pretty certain you would be eligible for nearly all of them as a second and third year student. First and fourth year students, it would vary on the specific site. While I'm pulling up that link, are there any other questions? There's that link. All right. So for my third and fourth year students, thinking about what may come after graduation in the not too distant future, here's a few postgraduate awards, some of them explicitly focused on sustainability issues, some of them just can kind of fit within that realm. This isn't all of them. I just picked out a few key ones that would definitely align with sustainability environmental issues. So the first one is the Ray Fellowship. There's actually 2. There's one for conservation and there's one for clean energy. And these are for recent undergraduates who typically have graduated within the past 3 years. So you can apply for it as a graduating senior or in the next few years after you graduate. It's specifically designed for those who have not had any full-time professional experience in the conservation fields yet or the clean energy fields yet. And so it's a fellowship opportunity to get your foot in the door and start getting that professional experience along with mentorship, professional development, whatnot as you go through. It's a 2-year fellowship where you are paid during that time, and you get placed with an organization to work with them. And then again, you get that ongoing support through the fellowship as well through that 2 years. So this is the one that is most clearly aligned with conservation, environmental, energy issues. If that's something that you would be on the horizon soon. That's something you can think about. Again, the earliest you could apply for it is your final year of undergraduate studies. The application is typically in the springtime, is when you would look at applying for that fellowship. Another one, not environmental focused, but it's a huge program that's very flexible in terms of what you could do within it, is the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. This is where you can spend an academic year abroad after you have your bachelor's degree. So the earliest you can apply for it is your final year of your undergraduate studies, but you can also apply for it any year after that as long as you do not yet have a PhD. So whether you're out of school for a while or you're in a graduate program or whatnot, you can still apply for the Fulbright U.S. Student Program going into the future. And that academic year is spent either teaching English, doing academic study. So you can pursue like a one-year master's degree at an international university, or just do like a certificate program or something like that. Or you can do research, so independent research. So working on research that is something that is within your realm of interest and focus. So again, this isn't sustainability or environmental focus, but we definitely have students every year who are within those realms pursuing the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. Again, it could be that academic study or research component, but you could also just want to spend a year in a place where they're doing really great things environmentally, and you're going to teach English there, right? Whatever fits best with your interests. But something else that you could do is kind of like a postgraduate experience. That application, there is a nomination or endorsement process. We are not limited to the number of students we can nominate or endorse, though. But that campus deadline is typically in September, early September, around the time the fall semester is beginning. So it's ideal to get started with that process in the late spring, early summer of whatever year it is that you were wanting to apply for it. So juniors, third-year students, if you're wanting to apply for a Fulbright experience for immediately after you graduate with your bachelor's degree, spring of this year is when you would want to start looking at that program, late spring, okay? If it's something off in the future, then you would wait a little while. This next one, the FAO Schwartz Fellowship, is like the Ray Fellowships, where it's a 2-year professional placement. The placements happen in a few different cities in like the northeastern United States. They're not all environmental or sustainability focused, and the placement organizations will vary from year to year. But this year specifically, there's a few different placements that would have kind of more environmental or conservation focus. Like there's one placement that is with the Hudson River Project. There's another one with the Natural History Museum. There's another one with a parks program. So there's a few different things there depending on what your interests are and what the specific sites would be for that upcoming year. This is also a 2-year professional fellowship where they would pay you while you work with the organization and then provide ongoing support to you through that 2 years as well. So this one is specifically for graduating seniors or very recent graduates to start getting that initial kind of professional experience after your bachelor's degree. These next 3 are all to pursue graduate studies. Specifically pursuing graduate studies within the STEM fields, but sustainability fields fall within that, right? So the first one is the NSF GRFP, Graduate Research Fellowship Program, Funding Program. I always forget the F. But this is to fund a PhD in a STEM field. At any university in the United States, you can apply for that in the year that you are applying to graduate school, or you can apply for it in your first year in your graduate program. But it provides you with very robust funding and support for your PhD program if that's part of your pursuit. The Quad Fellowship is for any master's degree or PhD in a STEM field to any university in the U.S. and it provides you with up to $40,000 in funding for the entirety of that program. You can apply for this one when you are applying to grad school or while you are already in grad school as well. And then the Churchill Scholarship is to pursue a 1-year STEM graduate degree at Oxford University in the UK. So if you were wanting to pursue a specific graduate degree there, 1-year program only in the STEM fields, then that's something that you could look at as a graduating senior or a recent graduate. They do have restrictions on how long you can be out of your undergraduate studies when you can still apply for the Churchill Scholarship specifically. But if you're a little bit further along in your undergraduate studies, like some of you are, and thinking about what may come next, or just those that are planning way ahead and thinking about it, here are some things that you might want to think about. Again, not all of them, just some few key ones that I wanted to highlight. So for your next steps, I want you to just really stay focused on what are the things that are important to you, what are the things that you're wanting to achieve, what are the issues or topics that you're wanting to be involved in or have an impact on within your field of interest. Doesn't mean you have to have exactly what it is figured out, but stay focused on the things that are calling to you and look for opportunities to be engaged in that, including national scholarships. So thinking about the ones I shared today, or you can also go to the ONSA website and just view the scholarship database as a whole and make note of any ones that you think align with like the kind of what they're trying to achieve aligns with what is interesting and important to you. And make note of any opportunities, including fellowships, that would support you in achieving what you want to achieve. Okay, building towards that future success. If you are identifying any fellowships that we've talked about today or through our database that do align with helping you achieve what you want to achieve in the next couple of years or a little bit further off in the future, make note of what the eligibility requirements are and any pertinent deadlines. Deadlines can change from cycle to cycle. So that's also important to note. Like if you really have your sights set on a particular award, but you're not going to apply for it this year, I gave you general deadlines or very specific deadlines for this year. It may be different in a future year. So it's just important to stay on top of that in the year that you are wanting to apply for it. And then also a lot of times we get questions about, well, I don't know if like I'm the type of person that this kind of award is looking for, if I would be competitive for it. So a great kind of first step in considering that is reading some of the recent scholar profiles who have been selected for that award over the past few years. Most of these fellowships will post that information on their website and have brief bios of the individuals that were selected. So read through some of those. Don't pay attention to like who the person is, but more so what are the things that they've done and what are the things that they say they want to do, and think about are the things that you're doing and the things that you want to do in the future kind of align with what you're seeing on these profiles. And when the time is right, make an appointment with our office. So if you go to our website, which I'm sharing with you right now, a screenshot of our homepage, and I'm going to put our link into the chat in just one moment. So if you go to onsa.asu.edu, which I just put the link in the chat, you'll find this page. On this page, the top left kind of option in terms of tabs is going to be the scholarship database. So that's where you'll find the awards we talked about today, as well as the 80 or so other awards that we didn't touch upon today. So you can filter through that at your own leisure. On each scholarship page, there will be a direct link to that programs page. So that's where you can find like the scholar profiles for an individual award, not from the page on our database, but the link that's provided on that page. And when you're ready, make an appointment with the very aptly named make an appointment button from our home screen. So this is where you will be able to schedule a UDOL advising appointment or an other advising appointment if you want to get started in the next couple of weeks with an NOAA or a Yale Conservation Scholars application. Also, if you just want to, you're like not sure which of these awards you would want to pursue, or maybe you see some other ones that you're thinking about as well, and you just want to have a more in-depth one-on-one conversation, like the person who's asking me about engineering and going into the Navy in the future and that kind of stuff, you can also schedule a general undergraduate advising appointment with this link. That's where we'll just have a one-on-one conversation about what are your goals and interests and which of the awards might align with that, whether they be ones that we talked about today or other ones that we advise on. Okay. So if and when you're ready, definitely make an appointment. Again, if it's for one of those awards that the application is opening or opening soon and you want to apply this cycle, you want to get that appointment ASAP. And then if you're not already, another thing, there's lots of other stuff on our website that is great resources. But the last thing that I just want to point out specifically, if you're not already receiving our weekly bulletin, where we highlight specific awards that are open, deadlines that are upcoming, as well as other events like this one that we have on our schedule. We also include recent news articles of students who have won the awards or been nominated for the awards that we advise on. So a great way to just kind of passively stay up to date on what's going on and what's current in national scholarships and fellowships. Subscribe to our weekly bulletin to receive that once a week newsletter with all the highlights. So that is all I have for you today. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.